Greetings, everybody. Nina from Beyond Truth. Tonight, we don't have Robert with us, but we do have a very special guest, Kristan Harris. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Nina, thank you for bringing me on your broadcast. It's always fun to do a new show, and I think this is my first time joining you on your program. So I guess we get to pop the cherry tonight, per se, and dive into some interesting topics and different conversations. And it's interesting because I'm in Wisconsin, right, northern United States, and people always confuse me with being Canadian. They're like, "Oh, you must be Canadians there," and I'm like, "No, actually, we got a big German heritage, and we switch out the words dear dad, die, der, dat, and das, and it's over there. We're gonna go get that." And everyone thinks we're like Canadian. Whenever I talk to anyone, they're like, "What? What kind of accent is it?" Well, it's a Scotty accent. They're like, "Well, you sound Canadian to me." And we use fun words like "op" and "ofta" and all that other fun stuff. So
that's kind of funny because I'm actually from Norway, and so I have a slight accent. Most people can't hear it, but some people, when I was younger, used to ask me if I was from Newfoundland, and that's back east Canada. And I guess a lot of Norwegians must have settled back there and created a different accent or something. So, yeah, there you go. So we got some similar backgrounds there with Germanic or Northern heritage, I guess. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, tonight we're going to be diving into the Epstein files. I know everybody's talking about it, and so we're going to go into it. It might be a little controversial. If this is not your cup of tea, this might not be your show, but I think most people are into it now. I think most people are starting to wake up, which is really exciting. You and I have been awake for a long time, but it's really exciting now to see people waking up and talking about things. And I've actually also noticed that we're not getting into trouble like we used to. Like, I was in Facebook jail way before that was a thing. I mean, I had groups on there. I got in so much trouble. I was shadow banned over here. And I think you lost your channel. And
I lost all my pages, including Facebook.
There you go. Yeah, I went through all of that too a decade ago. And, even here, not that long ago, like, you know what I mean? But now it seems like, well, everybody's gotten their channel back and nobody seems to be getting in trouble anymore. It's almost like they want us to talk about it.
Well, I wouldn't say everyone got their channel back. They refused to give me my channel back. In fact, I was in contact with one of the top 3 individuals who's responsible for putting channels back on YouTube, because YouTube kind of shot themselves in the foot by banning millions of channels. That's a lot of revenue advertising. People love conspiracies. They love conspiracy culture. We had a pop conspiracy culture 10 years ago. I mean, even Weird Al was writing songs about the New World Order in his song Foil. I mean, it was very pop conspiracy, like anything and everything. People love talking about it. We're seeing a revival of that now, but they refuse to give me back my channel. And I think it stems to my confrontation with Isabel Maxwell, which is Ghislaine Maxwell's sister, and I confronted her in New York because I was a key reporter in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. I did some correspondence work for a few radio stations, the BBC and InfoWars, Alex Jones's network over there, for Owen Schroyer, who is no longer with them, and Harrison Smith, the American Journal. And, so I was out there for 5 weeks straight, every day covering the event. Whenever they would leave, I'd try to track down Isabel Maxwell and question her about the Bilderberg Group, because she sat on a steering committee. And if you don't know what the Bilderberg Group, they used to call it the Kingmaker Group. It's 130 of the most powerful and rich and influential people who meet together. And essentially, they meet together and they kind of figure out which direction the world will go. And the things then come out in Davos and the World Economic Forum and all these other organizations. So I drilled her on cloning, synthetic biology, designer babies, artificial womb facilities. And then I was like, hey, weren't you on the board of, weren't you on the steering commission at Bilderberg? And then all of a sudden, this New York Times journalist next to me told me to stop harassing her. And I'm like, I'm just asking questions. They're not even that controversial. And then when I said that, I had my camera pointed at Isabel. Isabel then took out her cell phone and took a photograph of me. And the next day, somebody broke into my Airbnb on camera and stole my laptop. So that gives you a little bit of history of my involvement in covering the Jeffrey Epstein trial and a little bit about Kristan Harris. I also was a key reporter in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. My video was used as the dagger by the defense to exonerate Kyle Rittenhouse. So I actually was subpoenaed, and I had to take the witness stand in that trial because of my journalism and my video coverage of violent and volatile protests across America. So I've got a lot of history here, and one of them is covering the Epstein trial. I actually was the reporter responsible for releasing all the victims' testimonies via the stenographer. The only reason why anyone knows exactly what the victim said in court that day, verbatim, word for word, is because I chose to publish and spend my own money to get them thousands of dollars to publish these victims' testimonies, and including the FBI testimonies, which essentially collude that Jeffrey Epstein was tipped off that the feds were coming so he could leave or get into his safe room or whatever it is and evade being arrested at that moment at that time. But there's a lot of interesting things we can dive into that have happened since. But since then, obviously, Galan was tried and was found guilty, and then she was moved to a kind of a resort style prison. She wasn't even in a mean prison. We're talking about someone who trafficked children. You know what happens to people who traffic children in prison? You know, they don't last long. And it's funny that they want to give her a cushion in this beautiful place because she was part of the United Nations, you know, the good old UN, the New World Order there. She's bought in hook, line, and sinker, and she's keeping her mouth quiet while she's sitting there. Although people are reporting fake AI videos as legitimate, and that, oh, there's somebody caught AI or Galan in Canada. Oh, surprise, it's probably AI, you know, and people are getting millions of clicks. You would think those videos, back in the day, those videos would have been banned 10 years ago. They would have came and they would have cut you off and they'd been like, oh, fake news. But no, we're going to allow Rabid. We're going to allow AI out there. And I think a lot of that might have to do with the Donald Trump administration, because the Biden administration obviously had very strict rules in coming about and censoring speech, you know, and especially when it comes to viewpoints. We're seeing a switch of the pendulum, per se, right? We went from a crazy woke culture where we're canceling things, and trucker convoys, we're going to ban their GoFundMes and take all the money and nobody knows where it goes. Whatever happened to all that money that they confiscated from all those Canadian truckers that went across Canada, and they took their you know, their all the money they raised on social media platforms like GoFundMe. All of a sudden it's gone. Nobody knows what the government is using it for. Strip clubs in Vegas, I don't know. What are they doing with all of it, right? It's kind of crazy because the world we live in is very upside down. And I think people, like you mentioned, are awake, but I think that there's this false narrative. We're being directed into a very different multiverse. Obviously, we're getting insight into what the elite are like and what they do in their day-to-day life. And unfortunately, it's as scary, if not possibly worse, than the things we were warned about by Ted Gunderson and John Todd in the 70s and the Jesus People movement and the Illuminati in the music industry. It's like almost verbatim everything they said and more and worse. But the problem is they leave a lot for imagination in the Epstein files because they use code word slangs like beef jerky, which a lot of people are assigning that to some form of cannibalism. They have pizza and cream cheese and other cliche terms used in trafficking all throughout the Epstein files. But what do we make of it? We do know that Epstein was talking to young girls, that he was definitely involved in trafficking young girls. And he was extorting people. And what do we find in these Epstein files? What's so controversial? And what should we be looking at? And what should we be disregarding? So the first thing I want to tell all your listeners that this is not a PG conversation. This is not a PG 16, 17 conversation. This is an adult conversation we'll be having. So if you want to listen, that is fine. But if you have children and you're worried about the conversation or the details or the gruesome details that we may be talking about, it might not be a great time to listen or hear the things that we have to talk about, because we're going to be going down multiple different rabbit holes, because at the end of the day, we just don't know what the hell's going on. We know that we can read the emails, right? The emails are actual conversations. That's some kind of ledger of things that happen. Then we have anonymous tips, right? Those are the anonymous tips saying that, you know, Donald Trump, was present, or that Donald Trump raped somebody, or that, there was a satanic ritual going on the boat where they were eating the feces out of the intestines of babies while Bush Sr. was doing some kind of weird, bizarre occult ritual, which we know the Bushes are involved in skull and bones and occult rituals of sorts with Bohemian Grove and Minerva worship and mock child sacrifices there. So why not? How far is a mock child sacrifice from the real thing? I'm not saying just because Christians do a mock Christ sacrifice doesn't mean that they're going to really go crucify someone, but you start to see what these people are into, these weird, bizarre rituals, these weird occults, and they start to get mentioned in these Epstein files. You start to get these like underground bases and so on and so on. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick to the facts today, right? We're not going to try to get into too much of the like what if game, because it's really easy for us to go, hey, they were harvesting children, they were impregnating young girls, and they were using these babies to feed, to burn and give ode to Baal or Moloch. It's really easy to go down that rabbit hole because there's a lot of ways you can interpret that, right? And there's a lot of people out there, there's cannibalism in there. There's talk about cannibal restaurants in there. And then a lot of times they're used with jerky. The cannibal restaurant, oh, I can't wait to get some jerky. I want it hot, those kind of things. And then there's a whole conversation with Woody Harrelson and about Leonardo DiCaprio talking about eating babies. So like at the end of the day, it's really wild. We recently had Joe Rogan, right? He had a guest on. His guest was a guy. Let me see if I can pull up his name real quick, because it's important to know that this individual is a Hollywood insider, right? This person was on Joe Rogan's show. He was out. He developed movies with Quentin Tarantino, and he went on Joe Rogan, and he basically said that elite tied to Jeffrey Epstein are cannibalistic and they eat babies. He said there's over 8,500 worshipers of Molech, which is basically Baal worship. And if you know Jeffrey Epstein, we now know because of the Epstein files that his bank account was called Baal, Baal. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's Baal. No, it's pronounced Baal, as in play ball. That's why baseball, you play baseball on a square and compass. You play ball, you play football, you play basketball. That's why hockey's my favorite sport. There's no ball involved. Right? It's a cult. It's programming. It's giving ode to an ancient Canaanite deity. In fact, the Canaanites are the ones who coined the term cannibal. Canaan and Baal. That means Babylonian priest. That's what cannibal means. It means Babylonian priest. It means they're eating things. They're eating people. And the person, by the way, is the co-writer of Pulp Fiction that sat in on Joe Rogan's studio. And this is what he said. He said that elites tied to Epstein are eating babies. His name's Roger Avery. He's an Oscar winner, Hollywood insider for 30 years. He told Rogan it's connected to Moloch worship, said there's about 8,500 people involved, and said reality as we know it is fake. And this wasn't some random guess. This is the man who stood on the Oscar stage next to Quentin Tarantino. And that's episode 2452, if anyone wants to hear it from the horse's mouth. Okay, so that is what we're seeing. That is what people are claiming. Roseanne Barr's out there. Jason's like, they're eating the babies, or whatever she's saying, right? Right? That's my impersonation of Roseanne Barr. That's not a very good one, and I hope if she hears it that she doesn't, well, she laughs at it. But so we have this, we have these articles, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this up on the screen for the viewers. And this is like a synopsis of what I've been finding. And these are some of the bigger articles I've shared. And I made a little slide presentation so you guys can see, and maybe there's some typos. But basically, the first question I had when I saw the Epstein files was, is Jeffrey Epstein still alive? And there's a lot of people out there that believe this, right? But I needed some kind of evidence and proof. And so on the day that Jeffrey Epstein died, there was like this 8chan post or 4chan post that went viral like hours. It was like one of the first things I saw. And it was about somebody saying, hey, man, I'm really nervous. Please don't dox me. But, I just saw a van pull up and they rolled out Jeffrey Epstein Medical. They had him on a wheelchair with handcuffs. And the guy, I talked to the guard out front, and he didn't write down the plate. And there's people in military gear in the van. And the next thing we know, he's dead in his cell. I think they switched him out, and I think he's still alive. And I'm freaking out. And I kind of disregarded this whole thing, right? But the first thing I searched for in the Epstein files is this claim. And here it is. We'll blow it up for you guys at home so you guys can see it. And it turns out that the SDNY, the New York police, found it very serious. So they did an investigation on this person, and they identified who he was, right? And this is exactly what his comment was. It says, not saying anything after this. Please do not try to dox me. But last night after 4:15 count, they took him medical in the wheelchair, front cuffed, but not one triage nurse says they spoke to him. Next thing we know, a trip van shows up. We do not do releases on the weekends unless a judge orders it. Next thing we know, he's put in a single man cell and hangs himself. Here's the thing. The trip van did not sign in, and we did not record the plate number. The guy in the green military garb outfit was in the back of the van, according to the tower guy who let them through the gate. You guys, I am shaking right now, but I think they switched him out. Well, it turns out that individual, that very individual, his real name, and we're going to give you his real name, the SDNY filed for all the information to be put out there. It turns out that the real name is Roberto Gijalva, and he is actually an MCC officer who worked at the jail Epstein was allegedly died at. So here's a 4chan post by Roberto, allegedly, and here I thought it was a little crazy, but I thought, what if? It turns out that the SDNY took the post seriously. They interviewed him, and multiple times, by the way, not just once, and it was a real person that worked at the jail. So it makes you go, did he get killed in the back of a van and they put his body in the prison to make it look like a suicide? Or did they trade him out and find some other person? It's not that hard. All you need is a false positive at an old folks home for a facial recognition, right? And they're all connected. If you haven't found out about fusion centers that use every Ring doorbell and any kind of recording object to sneak and invade your privacy and look in your home and look outside your window, and the police will gather all the data, all those free Ring doorbells that the local police gave away. They have access to all that metadata. You don't think they can find a false positive and then switch out his body if they so choose? It's funny. They also went on to say that they actually put his body in boxes, or switched out his body with boxes, so the media, would identify him when they brought him. They wanted to trick the media, and why would they do that? It's so ridiculous. He's dead already, right? So the other interesting thing is there is an email to Pudgy, which is Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, claiming to be somebody saying, hey, you know who his boss is. Do you know who his boss is? Say his name. We want you to take over his business. Say his name. And he did it. And he said your brother was going to squeal. He was going to tell everything about what was going on. My boss loved your brother. And unfortunately, he's dead. So could he be dead? Sure. There's evidence that he's dead. But there's also this evidence that says that he might be sipping on margaritas with Osama bin Laden on some island somewhere, enjoying the sunlight, So that was the first thing. And this went ultra viral. I received like 2.4 million hits on my Facebook, on my personal Facebook, in a matter of 24 hours. I was maybe 48 hours more like, but people were really interested in this. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, Kristan Harris, just look me up. I'm on there. But that was the first thing that made me really think that we're being lied to. And at the very least, I think that the official story is BS. We know that there's missing camera footage, right? We know that now that the FBI deleted the videotapes from the prison, from that time segment. That was all listed in the files. Another very interesting thing that I found fascinating, and there's a lot of misinformation on what this is used for. Okay, so first of all, we have the sulfuric acid purchase. And I got proof of the sulfuric acid purchase. Here's the purchase order, the wire transfer. The wire transfer was done on 12/6/18, $4,373. It was 655-gallon drums of sulfuric acid. And then, the mainstream media is like, well, it's probably for his water purification system. What's interesting is there's no other mention of any orders of sulfuric acid in his entire ledger over the last 10 years of data that they have to go through. So what's interesting is this date of 12/06/18. Nina, do you know why that's interesting?
No.
That's interesting because on 12/16/2018, the New York FBI initiated a child sex trafficking case and investigation on Jeffrey Epstein on the same day he decided he wanted to order and buy a bunch of sulfuric acid.
Oh, okay. I see. I gotcha.
So why would you need sulfuric acid? Have you ever seen the movie Cloverfield?
I think so. I have seen movies with
the guy's like in a deep underground base while there's some alien invasion allegedly going on.
Oh,
and
okay.
And then he's putting all his waste in the sulfuric acid. Well, sulfuric acid basically eats anything. So maybe he's getting rid of photographs. Maybe he's getting rid of hard drives. Maybe he's getting rid of evidence. He's destroying evidence. Maybe he's contaminating blood. Maybe he could get rid of bodies in there. There's all sorts of things you could do with sulfuric acid, and people would not be able to recognize you. So it says on 06/2018 that the FBI initiated a trafficking case and investigation into the Epstein, and that's the same day. It just so happens to be the same day that he orders 6 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid. And the other thing that I noticed that I really find interesting is the group that's getting paid is called Gemini. Gemini. I want you to keep that in your mind because there's something very interesting about Jeffrey Epstein that's viral right now. And I've been a part about bringing awareness of this. And that's that he's part of a very interesting club. Also, another very interesting thing in the Epstein file is the Rothschilds' admittance to everything I basically said in a documentary about 13 years ago. 13 years ago, I used to make short documentaries before Reels. You know, the average attention span, they said videos that are about an hour, they retain the most attention span. Then it was videos that were 30 minutes. That's what you want is 30-minute YouTube videos. Then it was 10-minute YouTube videos. Well, as we know, everything is 30-second reels now. Our attention spans are getting smaller and smaller. But what was interesting is I used to make these little mini documentaries. And one of them was the history of the Illuminati in 7 minutes. And in there, I talk about the Rothschilds' ties. And then I did another one called about the Hitler conspiracy in 10 minutes, and basically how the Rothschilds funded Hitler, they planned with Hitler and everything else. And everyone said, oh, that's an anti-Semitic conspiracy. Well, guess what was in the Epstein files? Just take a guess.
The very thing you just talked about?
Oh, yeah, here it is. Jeffrey Epstein's email. Ariana de Rothschild from France, banker. I know it's true, but regularly used to say the Rothschilds planned and supported Hitler and mass destruction to gain more power. Oh, it's not a conspiracy.
I know, that's the thing. Like all these conspiracies that we were accused of for all these years, turns out most of them were right. You know, you can't really call us conspiracy theories anymore because we've been right. You know, about all this stuff. So there you go. And you got the proof right here.
Well, it's even more interesting because Adolf Hitler was, his grandmother was she worked for Nathaniel Rothschild, I believe, and she got pregnant at 15. And so that son that she had was the father of, or was either mother or father of Adolf Hitler. And so he was actually part Rothschild. So it's funny that she also mentions that, the Epsteins also helped Rothschilds because the Epsteins were the Vienna bankers. Oh, so Epstein has blood ties to the Vienna bankers. Oh, and then she asked, where are you? I'm in bed with your cold. Oh, she got a cold from Epstein, I guess.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing when you start digging down, you know, and you see the connections.
Well, the connections don't stop there, right? Also very interesting is allegedly, based on the Epstein files, Epstein videotapes were solicited to the feds by former workers of Zorro Ranch. It's funny because the feds never investigated Zorro Ranch. They never raided Zorro Ranch. Zorro Ranch was sold to a senator right? Conveniently, who now wants to make it a Bible camp, so Salty the Blue Bible can dance around and they can watch Dr. Dino videos all day. Like, at the end of the day, what's really going on there? Is this just like, what a perfect cover to just run another child trafficking psyop? Because who's going to question a Christian organization? And they could use the same underground tunnels and no one would question it. Well, now all of a sudden the government is talking about opening up an investigation because when I sat at the trial, a lot of what happened, all the like farming and everything else happened at Zorro Ranch. Allegedly, there's dead bodies based on some of the emails I found that were buried at Zorro Ranch and on Epstein Island, and that some people claim on golf courses of Donald Trump. It's interesting. It's data. And a lot of them are anonymous tips, but here we go. This is an actual email sent to the feds. The email states, Edward, this is sensitive. So this will be the first and last email, depending on your discretion. You can choose to take it or trash it, but this comes from a person that has been there and seen it all as a former staff of the Zorro. I wonder what Zorro he's talking about. Probably the Zorro Ranch. The material below was taken from Jeffrey Epstein's home as my insurance in case of future litigation against Epstein, or a case of a future litigation against Epstein. Sorry, no question. What is damning about Jeffrey Epstein is yet to be written. Did you know blank, it's all blacked out? Why was it all blacked out? What is it that we didn't need to know? Was he eating babies? Like, what is it that like I don't know, it's left to your imagination. We don't know. But here are video footage of Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, look, and he gave them links. It said, here are the links. Please arrange 1 Bitcoin by 6 p.m. today, 11/22/19 to the Bitcoin wallet, and there's the address. But the video links and descriptions are of Epstein with having menage a trois, like Nicki Minaj, who's little Saint Nick? Who's Nicki? Who's Nicholas? Nicholas is another name for Nimrod. Nimrod is a sun deity that was engulfed in cannibalism, Saint Nicholas. And what menage a trois, Nicki Minaj. It's a MK Ultra type name. It's there to catch your mind. And here it says there's underage girls in videos and rape fantasy videos. And allegedly this guy was trying to pawn it off to the feds. I don't know if the feds ever bought it. I don't really know what they did with it. But according to this and others, there's people in Mexico, they have videos of these elitists performing lewd acts. It's amazing to me how careless they were. Like, who cares? Who could stand up to me? Who's gonna come and get me? Who's gonna come and arrest Jeffrey Epstein? Even though he's got pictures with Bill Clinton, Donald Trump. I have Leo Lyons Zagami joining me tomorrow. There's rumor that Epstein stayed at the Vatican.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all. I was just gonna say, when you said about the Christian thing, I mean, the Vatican and the whole Christian thing has been, hand in hand with this. Like, I'm sure they have underground things in the Vatican too with their trafficking, whatever. And, so like, yeah.
Well, that's how allegedly Hitler got out of Germany. The Vatican helped him get out, and then he snuck out through Portugal and went down to South America. And even in documents in the 1960s, the government was following Hitler, and they wanted to make sure he wasn't up to anything. If he was dead, why are we spying on Adolf Hitler in the 1970s in the JFK files that came out like 7 or 8 years ago, 9 years ago under the last Trump administration? So, we don't really know what history is, but these emails also talk about Ghislaine Maxwell poo-pooing on being part of what they called a, quote, shadow commission on 9/11. It's the real commission, not the fake one. She basically says the shadow commission is a bunch of elitists like MJ12 or a bunch of people that they put together deciding on how they're going to construct the social engineering of what happened on 9/11 and explain it. So obviously 9/11 was an inside job. We're finding that out more and more. And I wouldn't doubt that it was the Bush family who are cultists, amongst other things. It's funny that George Bush Jr. is just basically completely out of the spotlight and has just decided to do whatever. Sometimes I think he is a side effect of his father, and he doesn't really want to be part of that evil because he's just so dumb, but he's not. He's really smart. So, like, at the end of the day, something interesting came up out of this, and I was talking to Jason Burmis. He's a filmmaker. He's most well known for Loose Change on 9/11. That's funny segue there, but we found out that there's a new secret society that we've never heard of. Like, and I can tell you, And I'll just name a few. There are so many secret societies. The person who studied under Jordan Maxwell for several years, and for those that don't know Jordan Maxwell he's probably one of the top philosophers of our time. He studied under Manly P. Hall, who wrote the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. And in Manly P. Hall as well, he left Jordan Maxwell 150 handwritten books, which Jordan used and explained to us in layman's terms how the elite think, how the elite work. Right? Like they don't call their children kids, because that's what a baby goat is as a kid. They're children, right? It's the verbiage is really important. The etymology is very important to them, the things that they say. So here's a very interesting email. They're talking, and there's this elite organization called the Zodiac. Here, just got a note from Bob Peary, who asked me if I thought Murray Gell-Mann would make a good candidate for the Zodiac. As you know, it's one of the those last secret type societies. The Zodiac is one of the really cool ones. There are 12 members at any one time, and it is still very secret. They do really cool stuff, but mostly since they are very old, right? It's just dinners in exotic locations. I can't tell you all the 12 members because I don't know who they all are, but I know Paul Volcker is one of them. Some guy named Howdy, whose family owns Stewie Town, Bob Peary, and I think Tom Brokaw. Bob represents Cancer, the sign of the month. You are a member until your death, but if you get senile, they can put you into an eccentric orbit and not invite you to meetings. Anyways, the only way to get in is if they can put you into an eccentric orbit. Only way to get in is if someone dies. There are obviously no minorities or women allowed. Anyways, let me know what you think. Finally leaving West Africa tonight. Finally, let me know when you get your postcard. You will hopefully laugh a lot. Miss you. This is to Jeffrey Epstein on a question, and they blocked out the name of whoever this person is, part of the Zodiac Club. So now we're going to switch the presentation into what the Zodiac Club is, because I've researched secret societies. Okay, that was the point of my Jordan Maxwell spiel. I've researched in depth in the Library of Congress, the Illuminati. I can tell you about the League of the Just. I can tell you how the Knights Templar were disenfranchised by Masons, and most of them were gobbled up by Weishaupt's Illuminati, and then the Knights Templar were basically the pirates of old. That's where you get the skull and bones from. And they're Gnostics. They're satanic Luciferians. A lot of them believe that Jesus Ben Pantera, that's who they believe the real Christ was. And so does the Vatican, interesting enough. Yeshua Ben Pantera and John the Baptist were in a polygamous relationship with Mary, just popping out kids, and that they protect the Holy Grail, which is the blood of Christ. That's what the Gnostics believe. And then there's the Knights Templar believe, obviously, the Freemasons, the Royal Order of Justers, what is that, Quill and Arrow or Quill and Dagger. Then you have the Wolf's Head Society, the Knights of Malta. Then you got the Jesuits, the Frankists. You got all these different organizations that are out there, the Jacobins. You have the League of the Just. You could go on and on with all these different secret societies. You got MJ12, and then the idea of Majestic 12, and now you got the Zodiac Club. The Zodiac Club. And so what's interesting is JP Morgan was a member of the Zodiac Club. And we know that because one of the few books on the Zodiac Club is called The Minutes of the Zodiac Club, and it was cataloged in archive.org. You can go type in Zodiac Club and the minutes thereof, and it will pop up, and you can find out who started the club in 1868, which is Edward E. Potter. But you also find out that JP Morgan was a member. In fact, his whole JP Morgan museum is littered with Libra symbolism. You know why Libra symbolism? Because JP Morgan was assigned Libra, and he was known as Brother Libra in the secret society. So there we have, smart bankers, we have elitists, and it sounds a lot like MJ12 to me, which back in the day, William Cooper would say that it was like Zygmunt Brzezinski, Rockefeller, Kissinger, maybe the Bush family. Who knows who was all involved? Maybe Soros. Who knows what the modern day version is? But in the JP Morgan Madison Avenue Library, there's two books titled Records of the Zodiac, where inside minutes, menus, and 158-year-old secrets are bound in leather, and you can go check it out if you like. I don't know if it'll still be in there. They'll probably pull it out. But the guy who founded it used to be a Union Army officers. The signs that are referred to is what they call each other. So when they talk about the Zodiac as a collective, it's the signs, right? Because each member of the Zodiac Club is assigned a zodiac symbol. These people are obsessed with astrology. JP Morgan was obsessed with astrology. What did JP Morgan say? He said millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that.
But the organization meets the last Saturday of every month from November through April, and the group only consists of 12 members, and each is assigned a zodiac sign. And here is their constitution, straight from the book from the JP Morgan. I was able to find this on archive.org because somebody decided to scan it in. And the club shall be known as Zodiac. It shall be composed of 12 members, which shall not be increased. The vacancy which may occur at the club shall be filled by unanimous choice of members. The club shall meet for dinner on the last Saturday every month between November and April, both inclusive. The dinner shall be given in New York Club or the Union Club or such other place as the majority members shall decide. And each member, unless absent from the country, contribute $5 towards defraying the expense of each of the regular dinners, and the cost is in excess of this contribution shall be borne by the president of each at the dinner. And so $5 today would be equivalent to, I think, almost like $350, if I remember correct. I might have been $250. I'd have to look at what the inflation is from 1868 to now, but I'm sure it's either $200 or $300. It might be even more. But essentially, these guys would meet in these secret dining clubs and they discuss world politics and the direction of the world. So I was able to dig into these files and I started to identify who some of these people are. Well, guess what? The members, we've been able to find out 4 of the members. And Paul Volcker is the former Federal Reserve chair. He was in charge of the Federal Reserve. Isn't that interesting? He's meeting in a secret society with Jeffrey Epstein. And do you think they just talk dinner? Do you think they eat baby? Is that what they're eating? They're really eating babies? Who knows? Tom Brokaw and some guy named Howdy, whose family owns a Steubenville town. But also Bobby Puri. He's an expert at law and bank mergers. And also Tom Brokaw was an American author, and obviously he's most well known as the co-anchor of the Today Show. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to talk about and see. But what I really find interesting is how the Zodiac Club, they don't want minorities and no women. No minorities and no women. But nobody wants to talk about how that is prejudice, right? No one's going to talk about that. A link, a very interesting link. Did you know that President Cleveland asked the international bailout team for JP Morgan and the Rothschilds to bail out the United States? That's why they got the bailout many years later because of that. And JP Morgan obviously was the Libra zodiac. So we don't really know what everyone is. But like I mentioned, he had relied on a famous astrologer, Evangeline Adams, to guide his business decision, and famously stating, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. So that's the exact quote. But it's interesting because in the emails, all throughout the emails, they use racial slurs like goyim and goy. And Epstein is talking to a female about a business, and she's talking about hiring. And she said that she only wants to hire people that are 98% Jew because Jews are smart. And she said that she wants to do DNA tests to validate that that person is that much Jew. Now, imagine if I went and said that I only wanted somebody who's 98% Caucasian, and I would only hire Caucasians because they're smart. Do you know? I know. But yet nobody's talking about the racism that are in these documents because they're Jewish individuals involved, you know. And now we're talking about things like jerky and other things. And before I get into that, I want to get into something really interesting. A lot of people don't talk about, but that's the most banned book in history. And a lot of people be like, oh, that's the Bible. That's not the most banned book in history. There's a book that was written in the 1700s by Jonathan. It's called Jonathan Williams' Legions of Satan. It was written in 1781. And Jonathan Williams, who was present at the signing of capitulation with General Cornwallis when he surrendered to Washington, he recorded that Cornwallis revealed to Washington during the signing of Article of Capitulation by Cornwallis at Yorktown that a, quote, holy war will now begin on America, and when it is ended, America will supposedly be the citadel of freedom, but her millions unknowingly will be loyal subjects to the crown. Cornwallis went on to explain what seemed to be a self-contradiction. Quote, your churches will be used to teach the Jews religion, and in less than 200 years, the whole nation will be working for divine world government. The government that they believe to be divine will be the British Empire, and all religions will be permeated with Judaism without even being noticed by the masses, and they will all be under the invisible, all-seeing eye and the grand architect of Freemasonry. So the idea was to use the Masonic lodges to slowly infiltrate and get involved. It's kind of like the doorway into the esoteric occults of crazy swinger parties and satanic seances and Moloch and Baal worship. And keep in mind that not all Freemasons believe this, right? A lot of them are Bible-believing Christians. They're good people, but there are crazy sects, just like in Christianity, you have your David Koresh's and you have your satanic panics and Satanism and child sacrifice that people claim. It's interesting. It's interesting. Another very interesting thing, if I pull up Google for all you guys out there listening, and I go into the Epstein files, right? And if I go into Epstein files and I type in, let's say something really off the wall, something crazy, Epstein files, and let's say I want to search, we're going to search for the Illuminati. We're going to make something up, right? Because there is no such thing called the Illuminati. If we type in Illuminati, what do I get? Well, what is this? Oh my goodness. It's the Illuminati families and their associates, an entire list from 2008.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. I thought there was no Illuminati, the Astor bloodline, the Bundy bloodline. It's almost all this stuff. And there's some additional bloodlines here, but everything that Fritz Springmeier warned about, everything Doc Marquis, who is another very interesting individual who died, who was a Illuminati member and whistleblower. It says the Rothschilds, the Russells, the Van Duens, the Merovingian bloodline, the Mormon leadership, the Disney bloodline, the Krupp bloodline, the McDonald bloodline, the Council on Foreign Relations, Illuminati, Order of Illuminati Wiseman, Rockefeller Internationalism, and the Bilderberg Group. These are all House of Rothschild, the Majestic Project, MJ12, the Illuminati Formula, which was written by Fritz Springmeier as the Trilateral Commission, all tied to Illuminati. And he has this all included. And look, it lists everyone involved in the Trilateral Commission in 2008. So he knows who the Illuminati is. You know what he said in his recent interview with Steve Bannon that they published was that him and David Rockefeller, he really respected David Rockefeller, and they were good friends, and that he wanted him to join something called the Trilateral Commission. And he said people were spooked because, it's Illuminati. And then he went on to talk about that, something spooky like the Illuminati. And he didn't deny it. And then he went on to talk about the Illuminati again. The bloodlines of the Illuminati went on after the Bavarian German destruction and arrest of many of its members. There was lodgers and Illuminati lodges, not just in Bavaria, but they had them in Italy, they had them in France, they had them in Portugal, they had them in the United States. According to the Library of Congress, Thomas Jefferson was an Adam Weishaupt sympathizer. He thought he was a utopian in the vein of William Godfrey, and he respected him. They were Illuminists themselves. Some of them ascribed to the idea of the Illuminati, including Benjamin Franklin. Albert Pike being another very big person, because Illuminati, after it was destroyed in the 1700s, the leadership passed on to Giuseppe Mazzini, and Mazzini later on handed on over to Albert Pike, who wrote Morals and Dogma to help a basic rank Mason to understand and become enlightened and enjoy the upper echelons of secret societies and ritual. And on page 744 in Morals and Dogma, it talks about the Illuminati. Oh, interesting.
Very interesting. Yes.
So that's just part of it. Now, I want to show you guys my personal stuff. This is my personal Facebook. And the reason why I'm bringing this up for you guys is because that's where I've been posting all these finds. I haven't been using the Twitter. I haven't been using anything else, just because Facebook has, for some reason, on this topic, the algorithms are going good. So find me, Kristan Harris. You can follow me on there. But I want to show you some of the other interesting things I located that will just blow your mind, right? They'll just make you go, why is it that this is happening? And one of those things, as we go through all these interviews that I've been doing, one of those things are this right here. Jeffrey Epstein was interested in creating robot toddlers.
Great. Can't imagine what they're going to do with those.
Goo goo gaga. Yeah, what do you think they're going to do?
Oh, I don't even want to think about it. It's just
So
disgusting.
so at that pace, we could plausibly have the robot toddler in 2017, 2018. That was their goal. And then 3 years after that, 1.5 million a year or so burn rate. And from a robot toddler with common sense understanding of its environment and correspondence of natural language constructions to much more advanced AGI, I believe is not such a large step. Anyways, once we have a robot toddler at hand, funding will not be one of our many problems. And they were trying to get funding for robot toddlers. Hanson Corporation, and they sent them this whole document talking about the robot toddler, and they're going to aim for 3 and 4 years old, 4-year-olds. What kind of sick person wants it? Why would you want a robot toddler? A real toddler is annoying enough.
Yeah, well, I guess
they have
other ideas, I guess, eh?
I don't know what those other ideas are, but I'm telling you, something isn't right. Something isn't right. Other interesting documents I can show you that other people really haven't been covering that I think are just wild. Obviously, here's the 9/11 Commission and the Shadow Organization documents dealing with Epstein and how it's, basically they talk about a shadow jury on 9/11, but that's a whole nother thing. We had Jason Burmis on. We've had a lot of interesting people talk about this, but here we go. Another very interesting piece. That's the sulfuric acid. We covered that. Let's see here. What do we got here? Oh, that's the Hitler finds. This is an interesting subject, but it's kind of off point. Right now, there's a viral video of this lady who's telling you, everyone, there's no Freemasonic symbolism on a dollar bill. Well, this is from the Supreme Council of 33 saying, oh, look at this is the Masonic symbols on the $1 bill. And they go on to break it down. That's straight from New Age document. By the way, the New Age is the official document and magazine of the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite. I wonder why they got New Age there. New Age movement. It's mystery religion. It's mystery cult. William Cooper is really right about a lot of things, and the DOJ released their list, but on that list was missing a lot of people like Adolf Hitler that was in there. I wonder why they didn't include that in the list. And here we go. Here's an interesting one. New document show FBI agent removed the hard drive from the jail's camera system, intentionally wiping all footage from the night Jeffrey Epstein died.
Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable that they got away with that. Like, I don't understand how that's even possible.
Yeah, it's a crime so big. I mean, how do you prosecute? Here it is. Here's the beef jerky, right? We were talking beef jerky. What do we do here? Right here it says, Francis has time to come tomorrow to show me how to make it. Jerky class, anyone? He will also bring you a taste of his new jerky recipe from the restaurant and sends a warm hello. He's working on a restaurant called, are you ready for this? Cannibal and Cooks. Oh, I wonder what.
So it's right there. It's right in your face.
Wait for it. Beef jerky and steak. He has time at 3 p.m. tomorrow, if this is okay with you. Beef jerky and steak jerky. Cannibal. And I always try to think the best of people. I'm like, what if it was like synthetic human meat? Like they'll take human cells and grow it in the lab, much like they do artificial animal meat. Like, what if that's what they're eating?
I don't think that's what they're eating because
I want to believe in good.
Right, I know, but these people want like the best of the best. They're not gonna eat that lab grown thing. They're gonna want the real deal.
Yeah, as in a Snowpiercer, the movie, baby tastes best, right? Yeah. That's what they said. And here's from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Summers, Importance High quote, I recall I've told you I have met someone very bad, not as bad as Trump. One decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous. That's what Jeffrey Epstein felt about Donald Trump. And he's telling Larry Summers that there's not one decent bone in his body. So
I
very
know,
dangerous.
that's what I've been saying too, but people just don't want to hear it. I know this is very disturbing. To know that these are our leaders, people that we look up to or used to anyways, or supposed to.
Well, it's almost it's like Kathy O'Brien and the Trudeaus. Remember, what did she say about Justin Trudeau's dad? That he wasn't he was the pedophile, but that he was anything sexual. He said he would try anything once.
He could only, perform if he was able to take their life. That was the only way he could get off, apparently. Yeah, sex wasn't.
And that's we hear a lot of that. We hear a lot of that. There was a claim that a girl was choked out and actually died, and they had to bury her on scene because the guy killed her while he was having sex with her.
Yeah, that's the only way they can get off, apparently. So yeah,
for some of them. Here's Jeffrey Epstein, quote, "I call him now my future husband, and we were talking about daughter. I thought I would never be able to kill somebody in my life. I was wrong. I might escape anyways. Miss you, Jeffrey. Big kiss. Although now you are probably won't like to kiss me anymore." So somebody was talking about killing somebody here, murder in the Epstein files.
Well, this is the ultimate fantasy for those who have too much money, really. They got so much money, they're bored, they don't know what to do. And so what are they going to do? Well, they're going to want to do all the taboo stuff, all the stuff that we're, that's what they want to do. And so you can only use your imagination, never mind the royals. I mean, the queen and her husband was here in Canada. This was years and years and years ago, to a native school. They took 12 of the brightest children out for a picnic. While they returned, the children never returned. And no, they haven't been held accountable. Where's the children? What happened to the children? Like this stuff happens all the time, and nobody's being accountable for it.
So here's Masha Drakova. She's an investor from Russia, right? Mm-hmm. She is a Russian investor and venture capitalist. And here she says, "I found a criteria to find smart people. The more Jew you are, the smarter you. You said you're 98% Jew. You're very smart. My Xbox is 78% Jew. He is super smart, less smart than you are. I have a close friend, business partner, who's 99.3 Jew. He is crazy smart. We take all Jewish people. Sourcing can be done through relatives. Ask them to do a 23andMe test to do event for everyone who do an event for everyone who's 98% Jew. Also, all of them are not religious. Do you think it makes sense, right? Oh, look, I guess you have to do a 23andMe DNA test to find out if you're Jewish to go to a party or hang out with Masha Drakova."
So this is one of the reasons why they're putting that out there for the public, right? Go and get tested. We want to know who's who,
Right. And here's how Jeffrey Epstein was on OkCupid. You want to talk about predators on dating sites? Here's an email from OkCupid approved by the admins. Here you go. Here's your login name, and your personality is really great. How bad OkCupid's girls want you? And it says so bad. Your profile as of 8 milliseconds ago is approved. So Jeffrey Epstein was either interested to see if maybe some of his girls were on OkCupid, or he was looking for some new somebody new to make disappear. Who knows what he was doing on OkCupid. But that's something that nobody has covered, by the way, that he was. Here's another one, interesting video. It's from Jeffrey Epstein, right? This is from Jeffrey Epstein. It says, "Where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video."
Yeah, I've heard about that one.
Okay, torture video.
Yeah.
He likes
they won't let us see who that was. Like this person needs to be held accountable. Like they can't be redacting everything.
Jeffrey Epstein had a secret door installed in his New York home. Who knows where it went?
Probably underground, I would think. Yeah, underground tunnels.
Another interesting thing is Jeffrey Epstein won the lottery. Zoro Trust belonging to Epstein won an $80 million lottery ticket in New Mexico. I wonder how the agency groups pay people. Now I start to wonder if everybody that works for the government wins the lottery. You start to think of all the ex-vets they have won. Maybe they're a part of top secret ops, and we'll just pay you out via the lottery. Then we'll let the taxpayers pay for it, right? We'll get this lottery going, and then we'll just pay it. Like if you're going to do black ops, how are you going to pay Jeffrey Epstein? Oh, you won the lottery. Look at that $80 million lottery ticket. Oh.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is selling one of your things, like say you got a painting or a car or whatever, and they'll just give you some exuberant amount of money for it. That's another way that they do it. But yeah.
It says several high-ranking officials and friends of Epstein have confirmed he has sexual relations with trafficked and underage minors. Both Golan Maxwell in New York and Blank were served last week, 2 key witnesses in Epstein's camp. And notice how Blank is blanked out there. We don't get that insight. But also Jeffrey Epstein was involved in financing Bitcoin, allegedly, definitely Coinbase. So it's interesting to me that the initial purchase of Bitcoin, the very first purchase ever with Bitcoin, was 10,000 Bitcoins of pizza.
I know, that is just so bizarre.
Not to mention, this is the black bucket email. Have you heard about the black bucket email?
No, I haven't heard about that one.
The black bucket emails about adrenochrome allegations and pictures via text have surfaced from DOJ Epstein Files website, claiming an underground adrenochrome harvesting going on by a female who claims she was being recruited by Epstein's circle. She alleges she heard multiple sources tell her about underground facilities and child abuse with blood harvesting on Little St. James, including photos of black buckets in an underground facility she claimed where to catch blood. Also claimed RT, or Rudolph Rudy Tanzi, Harvard scientist for Epstein, had blood on his pants. And she goes, quote, "I was told that stuff in his pants was blood, and it was from sitting on the bucket lids that they used to collect the blood, and it would ooze out around the lid, and it would get on the back of the leg, and that's why it was there. And they're sitting on the black buckets here." And then she posted, like, these are text messages, and she's like, "Yes, adrenochrome, they're harvesting it, and yes, you can give this to the FBI." And here's let's see if we can zoom in. She has like security video footage of allegedly people sitting on these black buckets here. And he had to order them special directly from China because the white buckets would become stained and they would show the blood on the cameras, surveillance cameras.
Right. That kind of makes sense, I guess. Yeah, well, we've all heard about that. I did a show about harvesting, which is a little bit different than this, but we've been harvested in different ways. Like everything about us gets harvested, essentially. The last thing will be the organs, I guess, not in the blood.
Well, right. And then, he was talking about making clones and everything else. But essentially, that's what I have for presentation material for you. Now, there's a lot I could talk about that I've read, right? Because I've read a lot of these files and I've gone through so many of them. There's cloning in there. And Britney Spears cloning. There's talks about Joe Biden being dead and that he was shot by a firing squad in 2019. And that's this Biden is an impersonator. There's all these
Trump
weird things
came out with that tweet. So that's not a conspiracy, guys. Trump literally tweeted saying that Biden was unalived in 19 and that this whole term that he was there, it was not him. It was a clone. Or different clones, actually, because you can tell.
Or impersonator, or somebody that looked like him.
Or something like that. Yeah. I mean, the one was a foot taller than the other Bidens. It was kind of weird because you could tell with standing next to the wife. It was like, what the heck? Did he all of a sudden grow overnight or what? So, I mean, this isn't conspiracy, guys. This is coming right from the president himself. So, go ahead there.
Yeah, the other things that I found very interesting, obviously, is the cloning, the DNA, all that kind of stuff. He was really into synthetic biology, designer babies. He wanted to get his DNA in every person, so almost like a vaccine. And so there was this crazy conspiracy going around. It was started by Trevor Moore, who said that he couldn't substantiate, but the rumor in Hollywood is that Epstein had a kill switch put in, that if he were to be arrested or died, that COVID would be released on the Earth planet, and that's what him and Bill Gates were working on, and that the vaccine actually had Epstein's DNA, so this way they could put his DNA in every person, his epigenetics and epigenetic memories would be saved because it'd be in every person whoever got the vaccine. And that was the conspiracy. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that's what people were saying.
I guess I heard this as well. I think I shared it on my personal page, but yeah, that's wow. Like you didn't think it was bad enough as it was, right? Now you got Epstein in you as well.
The other really scary thing is that we found out that Boris Nikolai, who is a right-hand man for Bill Gates, met with Epstein and the creator of the QAnon forum, the guy who created the politically incorrect forum, which housed QAnon. And the day they met was when the forum was created. So essentially, from what we understand, QAnon, or the idea, was directly driven by Jeffrey Epstein. And this is not uncommon because Ghislaine Maxwell was in charge of the political and the conspiracy Reddit forums, which are giant information. Like when we used to be in the top of the conspiracy Reddit and the Rundown Live, we would get hundreds of thousands of hits on our website. And all of a sudden, it's just stopped completely. And I wonder why. Well, it's because Ghislaine Maxwell is running the forum which we were posting stuff in. And not only that, Jeffrey Epstein colluded to create Q and drop all this data so that people would become it would become normalized, right? And then with January 6th, well, now if we know that child trafficking makes conservatives so angry that they're going to rush to Capitol, well, we better not give it much credence. And when people say, oh, they're eating babies, or that there's Pizzagate going on, no one's going to believe them because it's been blown out of water and sensationalized so much. And it is interesting that the kid that went into the Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria shut the hard drive, but it has nothing to do with the pizzeria and everything to do with the WikiLeaks Podesta drops, and it's crazy to think that they actually had they actually social engineered the entire conservatives, all these Susie Qs and all these people dressed up for Q, that was a real thing, that there was 500,000 sealed indictments, that JFK Jr. was sitting on Mount Rushmore, all that shit, and all these bracelets, and they're going to go after these people, and they're eating babies. And they took a little bit of truth with the Epstein Island. He made himself the focus in the QAnon forums, and then they went on and they aggregated it, and they made it so that nobody would ever believe it with a common sense because of what happened on January 6th, and they normalized it. I wouldn't doubt that maybe there's a potential that Donald Trump colluded with Jeffrey Epstein. That's why Ivanka had the Q dress. They kind of laughed it off. And at the end of the day, something went wrong with his relationship with Epstein, and he arrested him. And then he had him killed, or he's living on an island sipping on margaritas with Osama bin Laden. We don't know. But all I know is the whole Q rubbish was all trash, minus the William Cooper, Alex Jones, and Jeffrey Epstein stuff. And I think that was intentionally put in there. And there's emails to Epstein making him aware of Alex Jones and the things he was saying. So why not use all that in a conspiracy and make some post out all the truth, but then have it be completely discredited so that nobody would ever believe such a conspiracy exists. And even if somebody was to survive or escape, no one would believe them. And that's essentially what came out of it. It was like, predictive programming. They're letting us know what they're doing before we actually really find out. And that's really what the Epstein files is showing, is that Bitcoin, Coinbase, the whole QAnon phenomenon all ties back to Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, it seems like most of the things are sort of going back to Epstein and all his buddies. Yeah, I can't wait for all the files to be dropped. Apparently, this is just what, 2% or something of what's out
it's 2% of the data size, right? So it's 3.5 million pages, but when you look at the size of what is released for the the amount of bits per se, it's only 2% of actual hard drive size of all the documents. So there's a lot out there. There's vault number 9 has been purged. They originally accidentally didn't lock it out or redact it, so the people were seeing underage pornographic images, which I'm sure is illegal, right? By all means, they were accidentally seeing that. So the New York Times reported it immediately, and they pulled the entire Vault 9 down. Who knows what else is in Vault 9? There could be some data and paperwork in Vault 9 and everything else. But there's people out there saying, release the whole thing. We want to see it all. And I don't know. It's interesting. It's like I said, everything John Todd warned about, Ted Gunderson warned about, Fritz Springmeier warned about, all these MK Ultra, Kathy O'Brien warned about, Alyssa L warned about, all these people, Leo Lyons Zagami, Jordan Maxwell, Anthony Elder, Alex Jones, and of course, William Cooper, which a lot of people dislike. If you were a listener, you love William Cooper. If you knew him, you disliked him greatly because he was a raging alcoholic. So, and he smoked marijuana. And you want to know how I know that? Because I was a person who filed the FOIA on William Cooper. I got released 300 documents by the FBI on his death because I wanted to know what really happened when he was killed. And it turns out that they didn't call an ambulance until 6 or 7 hours after he was shot. Like, oh, okay, that's not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to call the ambulance immediately. They let him suffer and probably die.
Yeah, I can't believe that. They got him right in his own doorway 2 months after 9/11 that he had called out and all of this. But yeah, it's it's unbelievable. I got his book here, Pale Horse. He's one of the founders of the conspiracy community, I guess, eh?
Well, I think he's the one that made it popular in the age of shortwave radio. So I've been doing digging, and there was many people before William Cooper. You had Anthony Hilder, you had Tex Mars, you had, of course, Myron C. Fagan. He put out that vinyl series. The Illuminati is the Council on Foreign Relations, where he ties the bloodlines of the original Illuminati. Now, a lot of them changed their last name, and they were all the founding members of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. So basically, an Illuminati, by the way, is synonymous with communism. Illuminati is communism. In fact, the organization that was most prominent Illuminati organization after it was destroyed was called the League of the Just, or the Justice League per se, like the comic book. The League of the Just, their whole goal was to spread communism. They funded the original Karl Marx Communist Manifesto. They gave him the original Illuminati manifesto. He didn't originate that. He didn't write that. He took the ideas from the League of the Just, and they paid him for his services. And you can find that in a book right here, To Eliminate the Opiate, by Jewish Rabbi Marvin Antelman, just proving I'm not anti-Semitic, or should I say anti-satanic? I don't know which one it is. It's one of the two.
I know.
Or it's both. Maybe it's anti-Semitic and anti-satanic. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, right?
But it's a good time to be a goy.
Somebody's asking if the files could also be a hoax, or just to distract us from something else.
I mean, sure, they could be. That's a lot of fake files to generate, but I think that there's a level of tribalism in all of us, right? We don't want to believe that Donald Trump could do anything wrong, right? He's the savior. But at the same time, look at what's going on in Mexico right now. There's these huge cartel wars going on all of a sudden. Wait, what a great idea. The United States can get involved and take over Mexico. Oh, and then we can buy Greenland, and then we can have that North American Union that we all wanted for the New World Order. You guys remember that? And we wouldn't bitch about it all, because Donald Trump would just walk us right in. And then maybe we could take over Canada while we're at it. Hey, guys up there, how you doing? I like your hockey teams. I wish we had a hockey team in Milwaukee. We should. We got enough snow, and the Admirals don't just cut it. But it's one of those things where I see the world going towards a very scary situation, because now we have the United Nations coming forward, and they're going to say that they're going to invest a crime against humanity. Well, you know where the United Nations came out of, right? That came out of the Illuminati lodges. That came out of the House of Rothschild. They're the ones that really funded the idea of globalism in the United Nations. You know who is funding Jeffrey Epstein? The Rothschilds. So you're telling me the Illuminati is going to investigate itself, and then they're going to get rid of the bad guys. What they're going to do is getting rid of their sloppy employees that got them in this mess. And not only that, they're going to consolidate wealth and power and get rid of a lot of their adversaries. Anyone they can pin with it to get rid of, guess who benefits? The Rothschilds, because they got rid of the money and the power that's sucking it up. The Les Wexners and the Bill Gates and all that money gone. Imagine if they could get rid of all those enemies and all that money and just consolidate that wealth and power. They don't care. They helped Hitler. They planned with Hitler. Do you think they care about Bill Gates? You think they care about Jeffrey Epstein at the end of the day? Nah. No, it's all money and power. They just care about their 98% Jew friends. And it's not Jew. Oh! Sorry.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. We can keep going on all night, about this. We probably should close her off here, because people don't like to, like you said, they don't have the attention span for long videos anymore. I would love to have you back on, honestly. I can see us doing many shows. There's so much to cover, really, with everything that's going on. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comment section here, and we'll get back to you guys. If you have any, suggestions on shows or what you want us to talk about, like, you know what I mean? Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you guys are wanting us to talk about, and we'll probably do that. Thank you there, Daniel. I see. It was a good show. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This was, it's so fascinating. It's all sort of coming together now. It's really exciting.
Well,
we've been waiting for so long,
Well,
go ahead.
I don't know, man. Maybe I've been putting a lot of thought into what the Antichrist is. And I'm starting to believe it's going to be a designer baby with AI implanted in its brain, and it's going to have superhuman abilities. I think that's where we're going with it. And maybe they're going to use Osiris's DNA or Nimrod's DNA or Gilgamesh or whoever they believe is the first, sun deity god that everyone worshiped, that was a fallen angel and came here and mated and was offspring. I don't know. But at the end of the day, If you guys want to find me, my name is Kristan Harris. I do a show called The Rundown Live. You can find me on Spotify, The Rundown Live. We're also on Ground Zero Plus, home to Clyde Lewis. I'm live daily on the radio station, groundzeroplus.com, from noon to 2 Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. to 12 Pacific Standard Time, and 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Rundown Live. My name is Kristan, K-R-I-S, as in Chris with a K, and T-A-N as in Tan, and last name Harris. You can find me just about anywhere. Find me on Facebook. You can find us on rumble.com/The Rundown Live. And we just got back on YouTube. They deleted all our channels on everything. So I've been slowly trying to build that fan base back up. That's why a lot of people haven't seen me for a while, is because in the last 10 years, I've been working hard in the algorithms. We were on the original fake news list that Alex Jones and Drudge Report and Natural News and all these Dan Dix and Press for Truth and all these other very valiant people were part of, and really censored. Everyone got their YouTube channel back except for me, and I want you guys to think about that for a minute. All right, guys, have a good one, and thank you again for having me on, Nina. And check out The Rundown Live. TheRundownLive.com is where you can find everything I just talked about. TheRundownLive.com.
Yeah, I got your website, YouTube, and Facebook in the description, so go and check that out. I put the website in here. Seems like very long. There's a lot of letters in there, but hopefully you guys will be able to click on it and go and check him out, and subscribe to the YouTube so you can get him back on, out there, and get all this stuff out there. This is important stuff, guys. This isn't conspiracy anymore. It's come true. It's happening. So stay tuned, everybody. Next week, we got Micah Dank back on with part 2, so you don't want to miss that. And
UFO invasions.
I'm sorry?
We got the UFO invasion. Barack Obama conveniently admitted that there's UFOs, and now Donald Trump, who was basically arrested and bullied, is going to go ahead and declassify all the UFO stuff. So we have another million documents to go through, and then we can be sidetracked. So how convenient is that Barack Obama set him up with a nice way out of this Epstein-style debacle? It's like Barack Obama's like, give him a call. Hey, it's Mary Trump. I see you struggling, brother. Everyone's talking Epstein. You want to know what can solve the problem? Aliens. And all the ancient alien guys are like, yeah, aliens.
Well, apparently Obama was like one of the more frequent people over on the island there, apparently. Like, he liked his little cabanas with the island boys. And
he's not in the emails anywhere. Isn't it interesting?
Yeah, but there's people saying that they saw him there a lot.
It's possible. It's possible.
And same they're saying, oh, Trump's not really in there. I think that all of these people are in there, and this is why they're doing, oh, look over here, we got aliens, right? Before we get to that part of the Epstein files, right? And so that's the thing. It's going to be very interesting to see when all of it comes. Well, it's not going to be all of it, but whatever it is that they want to release next, you know what I mean? To see
aliens.
Yeah, what's in there. But I think the whole house of cards is crumbling down, guys. They're all going down sooner or later here. And I'm popping the popcorn. I can't wait. So, yeah. So stay tuned, everybody. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share the video. Share this out, okay? And check out the links for other ways to support and follow us. And stay tuned for next week. Enjoy your week. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Kristan. And like I said, I would love to have you on again. So thank you so much.
Anytime. Appreciate you, Nina. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. All right. See ya, everybody. Bye.